Hi everyone, this video will serve as an introduction to R. So when you open up RStudio, this is about what you're going to see. You might see a little bit less as I have some things saved, but I'll just clear this off. So it might look a little something like this. You probably won't have anything here, but I'll show you what this is in a second. So RStudio is nice because you have a few different workspaces that'll give you some things in. So up here is kind of one of the main areas that you will probably be typing commands into. This is what we call the console. Here is usually the source, so this is where you might see your data set. Here is the environment/history, so if you save things into R, you will see them here. Over here we see files, plots, packages, and help. So this has a few different options, and we'll review more as we go. So to start with, we're going to go ahead and load our data into R. So there is actually a pretty easy way to do it. So make sure you already have your data downloaded from Canvas and saved into a folder. Here I see all my folders that are on my computer, so I can just click Documents and go to my Online Statistics folder. And I'm just going to click on this and click Import Dataset. And you'll see here that I have my dataset variables here and my dataset points here. And it's giving me a bit of code. So I'm going to go ahead and import. Now, if you just did that, never having used R before, one thing that you might run into is you might get an error that you don't have this read Excel package. And that's because you're going to have to install it. So let's back up a step and think about what is a package. So R is this really cool space where it has a basic platform, but then there's also user-generated things called packages are like these great add-ons. So the basic R has limited information, but when you add on the packages, you have a whole more possibilities of what you can do. So to install a package, you just go install .packages, and you're going to say the package that you want to install. So in this case, we're using the read Excel. I already have this package, so I'm just going to click no. But what it would do is it would go ahead and install the package. Now, anytime that you want to use the package, you need to activate it from your library. So I would say library read Excel, and it would be activated. And that means I can use it in the commands associated with it. So when I click here, packages, we can see that automatically checked off. I have this base package. And then when I go down to read Excel, we'll see that that's also checked off. So the other one that you might find using is this package read R, which will allow you to upload CSV data. So if you didn't have that package, go ahead and install it and activate it from your library. Once you do that, you can go ahead and go through as we just did, or now that you see the code, you can actually just use this. So what this did was it uploaded my data set. So this is the path to upload the data set. And it saved it as MCAS data because that was my file name. So it just saved it as that automatically. So now when I click here, I now have this in my environment where we see MCAS data. And this is my data set here. So you can see, I can actually make this bigger, that I have variables up here in the columns, and then each row is a different case. So this would be one student here with all this information. So this data set is from a state testing data source. So it is the MCAS data set, which is the Massachusetts state testing from 2005, and it's a sample of 3 districts. And we have a little bit of demographic information about the student and then a lot of information about their test scores in different areas. So you can see here, here's our data. The one thing that you're going to notice is with our demographic information, it is coded numerically. So usually when you have a data set like this with demographic information, you'll be given what's called a code book, so you know how to label these. But in this case, I'm just going to tell you how to label them. So I'm going to go back to this file. This is a file that you'll see me using a lot throughout this class. You don't necessarily need to use it. I think they're helpful, but I don't want to overwhelm you with things that you can use right away. So in general, you can type your codes down here, and that's how I will demonstrate them. But if you want your code saved, this is what's called a script. So I can go to File, New File, and Script, and that creates this. So I can just type in my code to it, and if I want to run something, I would highlight it and click Run, or copy and paste it down below, which I'm just going to retype it down below so I can do as you are going to be doing. The other file you might see me using is what's called an R Markdown file. So these are really useful if you are uploading your code and output into a document. So you won't need to use this for this class, but I'm just showing it to you because this is how I will be sending you my information and my codes. So what it has is it has a chunk of code that, just say I run this. Oh, I'm not going to run that because it needs some sort of, okay, there we go, it ran. So I ran this, it gave me the information. But what's really neat about it is it actually knits together, it's called a knit function, into a Word or a PDF document. So it's really useful for sharing information. So that's how I will usually type out my codes and what you'll see me reading through as I demonstrate codes to you. So again, some things that you don't have to worry about learning how to use just this minute, but I will be using them. So just to recognize them. But the main things that you'll need to know is here is your data. Here is where you type, and you'll also see your output here. You have, if you generate a plot, it'll show up here. We have our packages here, and we have a help window here. Okay, so backing up. As I was saying, this is numeric information here. So generally we get a code book. So I'm going to go back. I went on my file tangent. So this is what I call a script. And what I'm going to show you here is how to label the data, because just having 1 and 2 isn't always helpful. Sometimes it's more helpful to have labels. So you can either save this as the original variable and write over it, or you could say, maybe I want to just save it as a different variable, so I have 1 numeric and 1 labeled. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to say, I want to save this as a new variable, and at this moment you can choose either option. And the rest of the labs, they'll just demonstrate it from the gender variable, not a gender one. So I'm actually just going to save it as that now. So I'm going to rewrite over the variable. I'm going to factor, and this is creating it as a kind of a categorical variable. It'll allow me to do that. And I'm going to factor MCAS data gender. So we always use this little $sign between the data set and the variable we're indicating. And then I'm going to type levels equals C. So now I'm going to type the numbers that I have for that variable. So I know I have 1, 2, comma, labels equals, and then you want to go in order. The label for 1 is male, and the label for 2 is female. And then I'd press enter. Oh, I see what happened. So if you press the up arrow, you can get back to your code if you want to edit it. So I pressed that up arrow twice. I needed to add another parenthesis. So now I can enter. And I'm going to click on this data so I can see it. So now you can see that I relabeled my gender to be male and female. And then I will actually do the race as a separate variable just so you can see the difference. So now I'm going to create a new variable that's MCAS data race labeled. I'm going to do factor again, MCAS data, and it's coming from the race variable. My levels, this has 7 levels, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, comma, and my labels. And I'm just going to copy and paste these in because there are quite a few of them. And you can just follow the order on the screen for the labeling. And press enter. Oh, looks like I typed something wrong. Oh, as you can see here, there are 2 quotations. So as you'll notice that I am getting these error messages as I go. Do not get discouraged by these red errors. I get them all of the time because I make mistakes all of the time. And I'm not going to edit out when I make a mistake while I'm demonstrating things to you because I want to show you how I go through the process of solving an error. So this just shows that I had an unexpected symbol here. So I'm just going to go look through and say, what symbols might not make sense. So I had 2 quotations around Asian, and then it looks like I didn't have a second one around white. So I'm just going to add that in and press enter. All right, it looks like something is still not working for me. Oh, okay, I see what that is. So I'm, again, going to press my up arrow, and I didn't do the equals C. So I have to do equals C. And again, this takes time to start recognizing the errors. It's not going to happen overnight. So now when I click on my MCAS data to look at it, you can see that the race variable didn't change, but if I go all the way to the end, I now have this race labeled variable. You can scroll down and see that, and the numbers will associate to the labels. So now this can be the MCAS data set that you have every time. When you close out of R, it'll automatically stay there for you, which is really nice, unless you click this little sweep, which will clear it from the workspace. But if you don't click that, then it'll be there. But you can also save your workspace to load it in the future. But you can just close out of everything and close R. Even if I close it right now, this will reopen itself as is, which is really nice. But that is the basics of R. Give yourself patience with it. It'll look really